Hello humans! Today I wanted to talk about this guy right here. I picked this up on a recent trip to an antique store in my area that I'm actually super excited about. This is a cool little knife. So without too much further ado, let's get into it. I did obviously get this secondhand, so bear that in mind. But this is a boker arbolito stag fixed blade. This is the older version. There is a more recent version of this knife. There are a couple of key differences between the two. First off, obviously, is the color of the liners. Not the most important difference, but one of the easier noticeable ones. And in addition, the older version only has one set of jimping back here instead of the index finger jimping that you can see up here, more forward on the blade. So this is an older version. It is no longer in production, but I still want to talk about it because it is still super duper cool, and the modern version, as far as I can tell, should still be available. So I do still think it is worth talking about. The boker arbolito knives are Argentinian. They are made in Argentina. A lot of them have this more like classic style of manufacture. In this particular case, we see riveted handles and bone with thin inlays. It's a very comfortable knife. I do think that they did a really good job selecting the antler that they used. It swells nicely for a right-handed person, at least. It swells nicely on the right side, and it's slightly indented where my fingertips go, which means that this is actually a very comfortable, very controllable hunting knife, which I personally am a huge fan of. And they do have some, like, I guess, sort of guides that they follow for, like, shaping, because you can see, you know, the front is cut down on both sides, the back is touched down on both sides. So it does create, like, a very natural but simultaneously extremely comfortable carry experience. Before I forget about it, the sheath is taco-style leather, nice thick welds done up in the front. It's got this nice big whatever they're called there, rivet, holding the back strap on, and it's nice and thick. Like, this is really tough. I cannot foresee any issues with it. Retention is really, really good. It retains pretty low in the sheath, but it's still very easy to draw. And I've had, like, no issue with this even threatening to come out or shifting or anything like that. Like, this is really well done. Leather sheath. Which I really do appreciate. Like, this is a really well done setup. Now, we have a hollow grind, fairly tall, saber height hollow grind, really well done edge, but this is an aftermarket edge. Whoever owned this knife before me did put the edge on. That being said, it does have a very thick tip. From what I have been able to see from photos and stuff like that, specifically of this older model, they all have this fairly thick tip, which makes it really difficult, almost, to stab into things. It's not that it's not sharp. It is sharp. The edge of the tip is sharp, but it's so thick behind the edge, it becomes kind of a chore to jab into things and cut. However, with this really nice forward jimping, you can use the belly. So for, like, opening and stuff like that, you can actually use the belly extremely efficiently, and it works really, really well, so I don't consider that to be a huge issue, but it is worth noting on this older model. From what I can see of the photos, they did upgrade it for the newer model, so that is hugely to its benefit. Stag handles, obviously, really well done, natural material. The blade steel is N695, which is, as far as I can tell, a name brand equivalent of 440C. Good blade, very high edge, or very high corrosion resistance, pretty good edge retention, and okay-ish toughness. It's definitely not going to win any awards in toughness, but very corrosion resistant. For a fairly thick hunting style knife, I do actually think that this is a good steel to pick, depending on the price point. Now, I paid, like, I think it was $125 for this, so Canadian, 125 Canadian bucks for this. So I think I got a pretty good deal. I know the current version sells for like I should have put that in my notes, but I didn't, 200 and something US. So I'm of the opinion I got a pretty good deal on this, but definitely not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, right? Like, but this is still a damn good knife. So let's do some size comparisons. Here it is next to the Moroccan Companion F. which is just a comparison I like doing for fixed blades. As you can see, it is a bit smaller. Here it is next to the Civivi Chevalier and the Wee Knives Banter. As you can see, it is bigger than the Wee Knives Banter, but a little bit smaller than the Chevalier. I consider anything bigger than the Banter and smaller than the Buck 110 to be a medium-sized knife for folding knives. For fixed blades, my standard is a bit different, and it's more based off of feel, because blade lengths are kind of a thing with fixed blades, but we'll get into that in just a second. Here it is next to a Buck 110 and a Zippo lighter. And as you can see, a good deal smaller than the Buck 110. In terms of thickness, obviously these are natural materials, so you're going to get varying thicknesses, but it does feel thinner in the hand than the Buck. Oh wow, it's basically the same thickness as the Buck 110 at the back here, so it feels thinner in the hand. I'm going to assume that's just because of the heavy rounding everywhere and just how well they did with this knife. So props to them there. This feels slimmer in the hand than the Buck 110, which in my opinion feels like a very bulky knife, without actually being that much thinner than the Buck 110. So it is hand filling, it is comfortable, for sure. It is very easy to use. Let's do blade thickness real quick. I've been forgetting lately, and I need to not forget blade thickness. Alright, and for our blade thickness, we are at about 155 thousandths, 156 thousandths between those two. So it is thicker for sure. This is a decently robust knife, but between the hollow grind and the fact that it does have a decent amount of height to drop down to that final edge, this does slice really, really well. This is not a blunt instrument. I mean, obviously it's sharp, but this is still a very precise object, even despite the blade thickness being what it is, which is why that short, blunt tip is such an unfortunate thing, because this is really difficult to use. Anything to do with the tip. Once you're past the tip, even just like a little bit, by the point right there and back, it's very thin behind the edge. It's really, really easy to use that belly. It's a very comfortable knife, and I would recommend picking one up if you see one. But I do think that the upgraded version of the Boker Abduelo Stag fixed blade is better in like many small key areas. I do wish that they had the forward jimping though. I love the forward jimping. It's just such a good spot for the finger. But yeah, super cool little knife. Definitely happy to have it in my collection. It's sized right around where I would want like an EDC fixed blade to be. It's very comfortable in the hand. It's really good for woodworking. I found it super duper comfortable to do woodworking with. I didn't do any hunting with this because I don't do very much hunting generally, but I imagine it would be perfectly fine for that task. Yeah, super nice little fixed blade. Definitely makes a sort of medium classy EDC fixed blade, but it is tough and robust enough to get into those harder scenarios, and I am not afraid to throw this at work jobs or messy jobs by any stretch of the imagination. Cleans off nice, corrosion resistance is on point, and it's a joy to use. It's super comfortable in the hands. Yeah, I'm all over this little guy. So if you see one, definitely worth picking it up. The newer version, I imagine, would be quite nice. I don't have one in hand, but the upgrades that I have seen, I generally like. I do wish they had the jimping. That's all I have to say about it. Stay safe and have fun out there. Peace.